Welcome to another episode of the Blue Bear Podcast. Today we will be analyzing a school-wide survey taken by Behringer students on the effects on the pandemic. I'll listen to some excerpts from December's whole school advisory. We will also listen to some New Year's resolutions. If anybody has any podcast ideas, please join the Google Classroom with the code UZBI2R2.
According to a survey distributed to Behringer High School students, the perception of the school closings since it began has changed drastically. In March 2020, about 71% of students were happy that schools would be closing for a prolonged period of time, while only 29% were unhappy about the closing. By December 2020, only 18% of students were happy about the school closure, while 82% of the students were either extremely unhappy or unhappy with the school closures. This data shows the overwhelming majority of Behringer High School students want to attend school in person. The main reason why we are not attending school in person is because it is almost impossible to implement social distancing guidelines in a school. So how are Behringer High School students practicing social distancing in their own lives? While 80% of students say they rarely socialize with people outside of their houses, 20% said that they socialize with people outside their houses either frequently or occasionally. The assumption of Blue Bear Production Studio is that this is a mirror of the society at large. As we anecdotally seen, about 20% of people in Newark are not strict with following social distancing guidelines. One last data point the Blue Bear Production Studio wanted to gather was how well students were doing in their classes. Is virtual instruction harder than in person? According to our results, student achievement has influenced wildly during virtual instruction. While 42% of students say their grades haven't gotten better or stayed the same during virtual, a whopping 58% of students say their grades have suffered during virtual instruction. Regardless of the possible decline in grades for some students, 45% of students believe they are learning more in classes during virtual instruction. According to this data, we at Blue Bear Production Studio believe that while there are positives to virtual instruction, the majority of Behringer High School student population wants school to be back to in person because they were more academically successful in school.
On December 16th, the Social Justice Committee at Behringer High School invited activist Dennis Febo to speak to the students in our first whole school advisory. It was an inspirational session that afforded the students an opportunity to open their minds and see the world from a different perspective. Here are some excerpts from the advisory that we at the Blue Bear Production Studio found enlightening.
The question of being an American can change depending on whose shoes you're standing in. But I know from doing my research and understanding history and digging deep, I learned that there are statuses, classes, to being an American citizen and being an American in this country. What I would hope is, because this is a spiritually based Judeo-Christian society that most people who are red in the face about some of these things always somehow are in church on Sundays, is that you acknowledge that for those of us that have as privilege, I don't care where it comes from or what identity construct, can assist those that don't. Planet Earth produces 1.5 times more food than human beings can consume, but people die of starvation. All of these medications and all the services in these hospitals that are provided in the United States, we're at some rate at 1,000% higher than medications are available around the rest of the world. And if you ask them why, they'll tell you because this is a free capitalist society and we get to make profit, even if it means over the death of other bodies. We've had a couple of incidents where rich men bought a medication knowing that was the only medication available to people to become better and jacked up the price. So that has nothing to do with politics. That has nothing to do with anything. And for anyone to use that as a conversation to stand on a political ground, then that means they themselves don't have an understanding. So anything that you're learning in history, politics, society, culture, always first bring it back to you, because once you know you, and I'll tell you, as a Puerto Rican growing up in Brooklyn, in Sunset Park, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans used to kill each other all the time because they were Puerto Rican and Dominican. Stop every single one of them and say, what does it mean to be Puerto Rican? Guarantee you it's silence. I ask you what it means to be a Dominican. I guarantee you it's silence. And I know there's a lot of Dominicans in Barringer, and I'll ask y'all something to think about. What does the word Dominican mean? And don't say, or Domingo, Saint Dominic. Dominic. You know who Saint Dominic is? About a man named Dominic. Who is Dominic? You were willing to kill someone because they disrespected Dominic, and you don't know who Dominic is? Oh, the Dominican has to do with religion? You can have a Chinese friar or a priest who's in the Dominican sect of the Catholic Church. He'd be a Dominican Chinese. If you don't understand the categorizations and the labels that you've been given, mind you, most of them did not come from, especially our own ancestry. And I say it as being a Puerto Rican. Puerto Rico means rich port. I don't know no rich Puerto Ricans. Who is that port rich to? And why do I call myself by an identity that refers other people plundering and raping my island? Think about that. And this is what we preach: get a job and look like someone else in order to be successful. Talk like someone else in order to be successful. Something that I know, and as a businessman and someone who's engaged with the world, I've been cheated on more by men with suits on than people who don't wear them. Professionalism is also a culture. And in this country, open, free, capitalist market, it is praised to be able to cheat someone out of their money. Oh, wait, what you mean? You sold something that was worth $1 for $100,000? Stupid buyer. That's their fault. Meanwhile, you spitting all this nonsense about the product that you're selling, not paying attention that that person's struggling, that that person has a family and children, that you should probably tell them to invest $100,000 into a home or into something that's going to make them move forward. No, you want to take it from them on a lie, and then everyone gets to excuse it and justify it. Every single major company, T-Mobile, every company we participate in is doing the same exact thing. By myself, just making a comment, being brave enough to go in front of the judge and question. Imagine y'all as young people. Imagine what young people could do to create progress. For the things that we complain about, for the things that we've been protesting about, if there hasn't been any resolution and the fight is not over, how can you contribute to it? Because being an American, to me, that's what that is. Making the issues of equality, justice, freedom, to do the things that we need to do outside of the eyes of or any philosophies of oppression. Once I have that and I have access, now I can affirm it in a room. I'm American.
We at the Blue Bear Production Studio encourage all students to show up and engage in the advisory periods on Wednesdays. In a country where so many schools ban Black Lives Matter clothing and squash students' voices, we at Barringer High School should be grateful we are afforded the opportunity to learn about the world in a socially conscious manner.
Like many people across the world, we here at Blue Bear Production Studio are grateful that 2020 has ended and a new year has begun. As we look forward to a new year of hope and possibilities, we wanted to take a moment and spotlight some Blue Bear New Year's resolutions.
My New Year's resolution is to fix my sleeping schedule.
Get better grades and work harder.
My New Year's resolution is to at least get decent grades so I can pass.
My New Year's resolution is to pass the 10th grade and to be a better person than I was.
My New Year's resolution is working out more so I can always be prepared for the basketball season.
My New Year's resolution, I want to get A's and B's and graduate from high school.
My New Year's resolution is to be consistent with my channel and to grow my business more this year and pretty much be consistent with everything.
To be honest, I really don't have a New Year's resolution. Like, people may say they do, but 9 times out of 10, nothing changes. But maybe I'll work out more this year so I can have a summer body, you feel me? And like, might try to gain some weight, cause like, I'm skinny. That's my New Year's resolution.
My name is Destiny, and my New Year's resolution is to get better in school and continue getting super honor roll and get better at math and to understand the prospects of music.
My New Year resolution is to graduate high school on time with all my credits and everything, and as well change up my ways, be a better person and a better influence towards people, and and to do YouTube as well. Follow my dream to do YouTube or get like an average job, and to start learning how to drive so I can go around places, see the world and explore. I think that's about it.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having everyone join us again next market period. And remember, stay classy, Blue Bears.